Hi, I'm Lady Balefire, and welcome to my House of the Dragon episode 5 review. Today I have OBG70, aka Mike, joining me. I'm very excited to have Mike here because I have found somebody that shares my take on the show. So we're going to have a fun time talking about this. Can you tell me what you think of the show so far, and if you are a book reader, and what your familiarity with the show is, or the source material too?
Right, yeah, I'm not a okay, I'm an original Game of Thrones book reader, but I as far as what is it, Fire and Blood is the
Yeah.
series, I am listening to it on audio, and it's only after the show started. So
Okay.
it was you and everybody else that was on the watch parties that were telling me you
Yeah, you're
gotta
like,
read
this
it. And
didn't happen. Oh my gosh.
yeah, yeah. So I started to listen to it. Unfortunately, the only time I have in the day to actually listen is as I go to bed. So I put my headphones on, I have my iPhone in bed with me, and I start listening to it. And for the first week, I was getting to the exact same part and I'd fall asleep. And so I just didn't, it was right after I don't know. I think it was Aegon took his dragon like super up high in the sky and then came down and melted the towers of the castle of that person who was like, "Yeah, f you, I'm not going to submit to you." And then, of
Oh yeah,
course,
like
yeah,
in, I
whatever
think
part
it's
that was, it's
Dorne or
right
something.
at the very beginning. Yeah, it was right at the beginning, and I was,
Yeah.
and then so yeah, you guys warned me that it was pretty rough, but yeah, so I've been trying to get caught up on it, but yeah, as far as the television show versus the books, I really don't have lots to compare because I haven't gotten to that part yet. I
Yeah,
kinda have
that's
to
fine.
listen to you guys complain about certain things to go, "Oh, I guess that doesn't make any sense," but,
Yeah, so
uh,
what do you feel about the show so far?
it started good, or at least it was entertaining. It's okay, so we've all heard that I guess it's the metaphor of if you're in the desert thirsty, if you're dying of thirst, you'll drink almost anything, and so, coming off of Amazon's Wheel Time,
Oh god.
coming off of all the Disney stuff, they're making all the Star Wars stuff, uh, watching Rings of Power, it is a step up, or at least a couple steps up. I would have to say yes. Okay, it's better. It's significantly better, but
Yeah.
I'm still finding it quite dry and boring so far.
Yeah,
You
me
know?
too. I mean,
Yeah.
if there's anything I could say about the show is that like the first episode was sort of exciting,
Hmm.
but it has been just a bore fest for me. And I
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is because of the time jumps that they do, and they're not getting like the kind of things that made the original Game of Thrones so exciting. Like they're not doing the kind of political intrigue. There's not the kind of character developments, the kind of intricate, like multiple stories going along. It's just, you can't do that with the time jumps. And I think that's where it really kind of falls flat for me.
Yeah, and I don't think they're doing a very good job with any time jumps anyways.
Yeah.
It's so weird because you're used to media being if it's movies or television shows or whatever, the time jumps, they try to do them creatively. Like you can see something happening, you can see seasons changing. The only thing that I can see that's an indication of time jumps is um the pregnancies going
Yeah.
from barely pregnant to full on going to explode any second. Then all of a sudden the child is 2 or 3 years old. And you go, whoa, that
Yeah.
was
And
that
one of
was
the things
crazy.
that really, my big concern with that is that they don't ever change their clothes. So,
Mm-mm.
like, they're wearing the same thing over and over
Same thing.
again. And I mean, is that even that realistic if your time jump is like 2 years? You're gonna have
Not
new
only
clothes.
that, but, you're talking about these people are supposed to be some sort of royalty. They're supposed to be
Yeah,
like,
they're
they would have, I don't know, 100 of every different thing. Like, they would have so many things. They would never run out of like, "Oh, you wore that yesterday," or, "Oh, I've seen that dress before." "I'm mortified. I'm mortified. You actually saw me in this exact thing a long time ago? I'm gonna kill my maid," or whatever.
yeah,
No, you would have something new. It's status.
I know, that's what I don't get. It's supposed to be, this is the
Commoners.
height of Westerosi society. This is the height of the empire. Like, it's right after Queen Alicent and King Jaehaerys. This is like a lot of peace and prosperity here,
Mhm.
and you've got like the Godswood, and there's weeds, and the grass hasn't been mowed. It looks
Okay, I can't
awful.
do this. I gotta get my glasses back on. I was trying to
It's
copycat
okay. I
you
have
and Pips. You and
I
Pips. I was trying to
have
be like you guys.
streamer eyes.
Okay.
So what did you think of episode 5?
Oh man, it started
Because
immediate
we're at the midway of the show. There's 10 episodes of the
right, and
season.
this is the last one before they do the different they're going to change
They're gonna
characters.
change
They're
your
gonna change the
actors.
actors. I mean, yeah. So I mean, we're going to start off right where we have we have Damon's. What she says, we haven't even consummated our marriage. She indicates like she's really bagging on him, but
Yeah, maybe we
she's
can
out.
kind of pull that up. Since
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to do like a video screening video here.
Okay.
So we have
So
like
she's out galloping, and then this. Oh, I had his name. Oh my god, I actually remembered his name until like 5 minutes ago. I'm so sorry. I actually wrote it down too. But it's her uncle or something, right? Or cousin,
yeah, it's a
cousin,
cousin.
cousin. So he stops her, and then this is the moment you get to have that look on her face. Just look at that look on her face. It's she does the
I
same thing to him. And what do you? Oh, hey, how are you out here? Or what are you hunting?
I
Rabbits. So it's like,
it's like I just like it just reminds me just what he's wearing, the time of day, the
uh,
location of this. It's just so cheesy. I
mm.
mean, look at his how his hood is all like
It's
tucked
all
in.
yeah, it's mystery. It's like, "Oh my god, who is that dark hooded person?
Who
I
could that
better
possibly
approach with
be?
caution. Oh, it's you, my husband."
Oh, my husband I haven't seen.
Yeah. And
And
she hates
then
him, and
yeah.
she's obviously not into
Oh yeah,
boys
the
at
sheep are
all.
willing.
Yeah,
The sheep are
the sheep will
pretty.
take care of it. Yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah.
I and this was all, of course, my understanding is that in the story, it's just like she falls off her horse and she cracks her skull, like she dies
Yeah,
from
like there might I mean, I didn't like this because I don't know why he had to be there and it just
didn't.
makes him look incompetent because in the story it kind of suggests that maybe he had her killed or something, but again, here's another like
Which
I've always
story? The book
the
suggests that?
book, yeah, the
Oh, it
book
does. Okay.
suggests that yeah, he probably had something to do with it, but it
Mm.
doesn't really say. I mean, I'm so sick of them making every single, especially the male character, so incompetent. It's like they can't do anything. And here's like a double dose of that. It's like
Mhm.
here she does that. He does whatever like Jedi mind tricks with the horse. It rears and she falls down and then she says stuff about being impotent and then I don't know why that's such a thing for them to make him be impotent. And then here it's like they're talking about she's again bringing up Rhaenyra. You're going to be cast aside for a little girl.
Yeah.
It's like every single like
They took her man hating and turned it up to 100, and there was really no reason. Because
yeah.
in my opinion, I think in this girl, she has it made. She has a husband who's never been with her because he couldn't.
Yeah.
She gets the run of the whole place to do whatever the hell she wants. Nobody bothers her. Whoever she's sexually attracted to, she can go and have some fun on the side. He never knows because he's never around.
Yeah.
She has the life.
I know. It's like you didn't want to marry the dude, like, but
No,
here you are.
if
Like,
you're gonna be forced into marriage, this is that what you want. You want to be left alone. Like, okay, just I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go off and do some things. I might see you in 20 years.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
so
And and you know what I always felt about this, and I was just thinking, it's like if you're going to come up with a world where the like dominant paradigm is like the patriarchy controls everything, like are the women of this world going to be like complaining about the patriarchy or like are they going to actually just start taking their lives in their own hands and start working that system?
right, work the system. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's what I would do if I was stuck in that position. I'm not going to just complain about this stuff like eh, that's just one big failing of it. It's like you're injecting to inject like modern political messages
Hmm.
into this world. And I mean, okay, it's a patriarchy, cool. Like they're not going to rail against it. I mean, think of the original Game of Thrones, which is my kind of watermark or watershed for measuring this stuff. Is like, what did they do in that show? It's like you had Cersei in the same position. I mean, did she
Hmm.
bitch about the patriarchy? No.
No.
It's like she was doing her Cersei things, like
Hmm.
creating machinations and like
Well, I
sleeping
mean,
around.
prior to this scene, you had the scene where she's out, of course, hunting,
Hmm.
and her cousin asks, like, "What are you hunting?" She says, "Rabbits," and he asks, kind of in that demeaning kind of, patriarchal kind of message there, where it's like, "What, oh, hi, little girl, what are you hunting? Only rabbits, right?" Like that kind of a message, right?
Yeah.
So she's like, "No, I'm hunting deer." He's like, "Oh." Well, that's quite a challenge for a little girl. Like you're getting the undertones there of what he's
It's
actually saying.
always there. It's like
Right. It's always
it's so
there.
much in this, and I was excited
Of
when I
course
saw
she
your review
gallops
because
back
you
with
saw it too.
yeah, and when she gallops back where she has all these pheasants. So she didn't have deer. She's out shooting birds.
I
But it's
know.
still I don't know. It's
And
just
of course she says deer, so it brings us back to the like hunting scene with
mm,
what was that episode 3?
it's I think so, yeah. They're
Yeah,
out
and
there
then
looking for the white stag and whatever. Yeah.
here she goes gonna talk about him being impotent. Ew, you can't finish anything. I don't really understand where they're going with like Damon is impotent here.
My only theory, like I said, it has to do with strong women don't excite him. Like he doesn't like strong women.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting, and I think we'll have to see how that ends up playing out, or
Yeah.
if they even let him have that.
Yeah, because it's almost like a fetishization of like the domination submissive aspect where he has to have the submissive little girl who's kind of afraid of him and does whatever he says and he has to kind of take what he wants. If anyone kind of goes like, "Oh, I'll come back at you with more," like Renee did Ray Ray as I call her,
Right,
did
right.
Ray
I like
Ray
that.
did earlier, like when he took her to the sex place, whatever it was,
What
the
that
orgy
was so
place, whatever it
weird.
was. He started in and she gave it back. She came right back in. It was like, okay, let's go. And he's like, oh, wait a second, I don't have control. And it's kind of how
Yeah,
I feel. Like I was like, oh, I don't have the
maybe
control of
he's
this.
just like a whole
And
like
this girl that just fell off and broke her neck. That she was not in any. She was first of all, she wasn't interested in him. Like that's for one thing.
yeah.
But she would have been fighting
Yeah, she'd
against
be
him. She
feisty. She'd be like, don't touch
yeah.
me. You don't like
Right. And
that.
so I don't think that's what he wanted. And I just think that makes a difference for him. I think he's
Yeah.
got some issue, some block where he has to be the one completely in control and the girl has to be afraid or wants like no like almost a rape fantasy type of thing, but on
Yeah,
his
I
side.
actually
Like
think that's probably what they're doing. They're trying to say this is toxic masculinity. Unless this guy isn't like raping a woman, he's not going to get off.
mhm.
I don't know. It seems
It
kind of
seems to
par
be the
for the course.
case. Yeah. Because he always seems to think he can do it. And then when he's
Yeah.
actually in the and getting ready to do it, it's like, oh, I can't. So it's like he has history where he's able to complete the task,
And I
just
just
not
think
with these
that's
strong women.
gonna be so weird because he has kids with Helena Valerian and he has kids with Rhaena or
Mm,
Rhaenyra, excuse me. So I was like, I'm gonna bring this point up, even though I
mhm,
realized it earlier or later in the show. But I was thinking about the timeline of this, and later on in this episode,
okay.
Larry's Clubfoot tells Allison that like Rhaenyra took the moon tea the day before she left. So this is like such a weird timeline for me. So I was
Mm,
putting this together and it's like so the first thing that happens is that there's the like sex orgy den whatever with
yeah.
Damon and then she sleeps with Kristen and
Mhm,
then Damon's banished the next day and then Raina gets the moon tea. Now I don't know how much time has passed between these two things. It almost like the way that they presented it made it think it was the same day or like later that
yeah.
night.
Wait, mhm,
And then um Rhaenyra and Viserys go to Driftmark, and that is a day after the Moon Tea incident. And then all of a sudden, they arrive at Driftmark, and they're going to hear about Rhea Royce's death. This is just so weird to me because I'm like, even if Damon was on his dragon, where, where are they getting the time? Like, where's he
where's
getting the
that
time
info
to kill his wife and the news to spread? Even if it was ravens or something, ravens take time to fly. And I thought, like, at
mhm,
most, maybe like 2 weeks would have passed in all of this because from Driftmark to King's Landing, it's closer than Dragonstone. So that's maybe like I'd say a week at most by boat, and then Runestone is twice as far from that. And I don't know if Damon's flying or not. I mean, we didn't see any dragons, so there's like some timeline issues here.
yeah, and I don't think Damon himself would have said anything. I think he would just kinda come back
Yeah,
like, like I don't
and I
even know if
was
anyone knew he was down there.
yeah, and I was kind of like, well, Runestone is just kind of like this backwater place, and so they
Yeah,
arrive here, and oh, this is the Allison scene. Oh, I forget.
okay.
Yeah, so she comes with their Airstream trailer. I'm not
Yeah,
sure the horses are tow rated for that. And then we get this, and What were your feelings on this scene here where Allison is talking to her father?
Yeah, it was kind of weird because like she obviously didn't want him to leave, whatever. So you had like the daddy daughter moment thing, but
Mhm.
then he's just kind of like, well, I have to. I mean, it's clear that he's gonna go out and start in trouble, but at the same time,
Yeah.
she's still the queen. So
Yeah.
I don't know exactly, but he's just like, these are the things that are gonna happen. Like you said right there, the king's gonna die, we're gonna have an heir, you know,
Yeah.
everything's gonna be in turmoil really quick. So, but
Yeah.
the
And they're
interesting
just
thing is
again
it's his daughter. He can't take her. Like for me as a dad, I would say, okay, you're coming with me. Like you're gonna get out of here before all this shit happens. Like let's
Yeah,
bail
but she
now.
can't really
No,
leave.
she can't. She can't. So
I
he's
thought
just
what
basically
was
almost like a goodbye.
Yeah, it was a goodbye for them, but
Yeah.
I thought it was weird about this scene is because, in the books, Allison is 9 years older than Rhaenyra, and so there would never have been friends. They don't mention them being friends, and I have always kind of maintained that this was something that the show was going to have problems with, and I think that problem is really expressing itself in this
Mm,
episode in particular because it's like they haven't I mean, time has passed. We've had at least 2 or 3 years now, and like they're still the last episode they were still acting like friends
mm,
kind of and she wasn't sure about Rhaenyra. I don't know why I keep saying Rhaena today. Rhaenyra sleeping with whoever, but it wasn't like but that whole episode like that whole last part of that episode to me was weird because it's like is she changing from being her friend to her stepmother to the queen, or are they still friends? And
I,
their characterization has been really kind of spotty with that. And then here is where you're starting to see the problems with it because it's logical for her as the mother of the kings. I think she has two sons now
mhm,
that she would want to do whatever's best for her children and not
mhm.
keep supporting Rhaenyra, but she's still supporting Rhaenyra, and I don't know, like
I think it's loneliness.
yeah, I think the way that they've put her up and when I read the book, I didn't get the feeling that she was this kind of like lonely or tied up and stuff.
Yeah, I just from what I can see in the show, I feel like both of them don't have any friends. Like, they don't
Yeah.
really have anyone they talk to. And it's kinda like being a kid and living in you have your neighborhood or whatever, and there's that kid down the street that you really don't like, but if you don't play with that person, you have nobody, so you kinda have to force yourself. Like, you're like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
I kinda get
friends
in yeah,
until I
that's
can." Yeah. So, I get that. It's like, "Okay, well, I have no one to talk to, but, oh, there's my ex-best friend, we spent so much time together, we grew up together, whatever." So
yeah.
I think there's just that kinda doing this, like, we miss each other, we come back and
I just kind of wish that they wouldn't have done the whole friends thing and like the
mm,
lesbian baiting in the first episode and
yeah,
that's silly.
that was just to make all the lesbians happy out there.
I know, like give them, oh, they were lovers before. Give all
Mhm.
the Tumblr kids something to talk about. And so she leaves, and I'll just keep it going it up a little forward. So then the Airstream arrives at Driftmark. Now this is so weird. Like, what is why is there a door there? When I saw this castle, I'm just like, this looks so shabby. And Driftmark is supposed to be some really big place. It's rich. Corlys Valerian is like the wealthiest guy in the world, and
Yeah.
you have something that looks like the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, and that I see nothing about any of this that is, rich at all. It looks like an old ruins.
Yeah, and why are there no like fortifications or something? I mean, you're gonna be
Mm,
dealing with people fighting with dragons in a war really soon. You think if they
yeah.
built this brand and this should be a new castle because he built High Tide because the other castle was really damp.
I wonder how much Martin has influence on this at all, if he gets to look at the sketches and stuff and say,
You
"Yeah, that looks
know,
about what I imagined," because
when we were doing our rewatch, I was talking to Anna, and she was saying that Ryan Condal and George R. R. Martin are really good friends, and that they
mm,
talk a lot about this. And I just am like, if that's the case, that makes me feel even worse about George R. R. Martin.
mhm.
And it just, I don't know. So here's where
Because
this
you
is the
want
part
you want the
where
people who view the show to then see something like that castle and then when they
Yeah.
read the books, they think of the castle. They think of that castle.
Yeah, and not and here's what I'm talking about in King's Landing. Look at the
Yeah.
grass. Like this is supposed to be like some really nice place. There's a lot of scenes here.
Hmm.
It doesn't look very nice. But this is where I first realized the problem like with the time because he ends up yeah, it shouldn't be thriving here just like you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And I remember you said something like, "Oh, the hydrangeas don't even."
oh yeah,
Yeah,
they're hibiscuses. I don't
hibiscus.
I
I mean,
doubt
yeah,
that they would grow there, but
hibiscus.
I'm not that much of a stickler.
But that was actually the point of what he was saying, though, is that these shouldn't be here. These are
Yeah, they
like
shouldn't grow
rare
here.
for them to even thrive here at all. They should be dead.
Yeah, and
So,
you know what? This is another part where the show does what it does best, which is telling and not showing. If Larys Clubfoot is a guy that's going to end up becoming like the little finger and Viserys of the court. So I think a
mm,
great way to give us the idea that rumors are spreading about Rhaenyra and the Moon Tea and stuff would have been to have shown us like Larry's has informants and
mhm,
doing
yeah,
what Littlefinger Varys did, like some action in the corridors, somebody's servants listening or something like that. But instead we get this kind of exposition through dialogue.
right, yeah, yeah. You're right. The little birds. He needs his own little birds, and we
Yeah,
didn't
we
see
need
any of
to
that
like see
because
something.
you just explained it to me because you read the book. I didn't get that from him. This conversation at all. Like I didn't know that he was the Viserys type of character where he was a
Yeah, he's a
super secret
very
spy.
and
And
he has all the
he's
spies and he ends up
yeah.
becoming the master of whispers.
See, they did not explain that to me. They did not show it or tell it, in my opinion. I
Yeah,
just
I
thought
wish that
I thought he
I
was the gardener for all I knew.
yeah, I know he's just randomly there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she finds out about the moon tea and again, this is something it's like I know they're
Well,
building on the, like, Game of Thrones framework, but if you hadn't seen Game of Thrones, do you know the significance of this? And you didn't hear the Marguerite Tyrell, like,
mhm.
story, you wouldn't
Well, let
know.
me ask you this. What is her problem? Like, why is this her business? What is she trying to protect, or who is she trying to protect?
Yeah, that's a good question because I can't, like, honestly answer that. And you should, like, in every scene should have some kind of a conflict, like, what does this character want? What does that character want? Even if it's something minor, you should still be able to say something like this, and
As I said in my review of a previous episode, she seems to want to be the good little girl.
yeah.
And if that's the case, like remember she like shoot away the maids and says, "I'll take care of my own husband." And she always does her duty. And I wonder if she feels her duty is to now protect the king or protect the crown or protect whatever's happened.
Yeah,
And for into
or
her mind, Ray out sleeping with whoever is a serious issue. And so she's actually going to be a tattletale. So I don't know.
yeah,
It just feels weird. Like, are you my
like
friend? You should have my back.
exactly. Are
You
you the
should be
friend
covering for
or
me.
are
Yeah.
you the stepmother queen? And they haven't
Yeah.
made her change that, and I
I
that
get
to
this
me
I get the stepmother queen vibe from her.
yeah, I feel like there should have been, like, at some point, like, a falling out, like, maybe when she married Viserys, like, she should have
Yeah.
changed, and that's why having her be older than Rhaenyra made more sense because she's still, like, kind of close in age, but
You said 9 years?
yeah, 9-year difference, so, I mean,
From
it's like you would be young, but you're not, like you'd still kind of be, like, the same age.
Yeah, I'm not in this for the casting anyway, I'm not seeing much of an age difference.
No, I don't think they're supposed to be different, they're supposed to be
Mm,
the same age.
yeah.
But, yeah, so this is the next big thing, and, when I saw this, I had one main question.
Okay.
You're the king.
Yeah.
People come to you, you
Right.
don't go to them. So,
Nope.
this whole reason for them going to Driftmark, and it reminds me of something that I think about when you're writing screenplays or any kind of writing, any fiction writing, is that, like, your scenes stir the story, like, the stories like, everything should serve the story, and you can't have the story serving your scenes because like it's obvious to me here they wanted to have a scene where they're going to talk to the king and then they're going to like Rainey's is going to come in and she's going to tell him stuff about like getting married and they're
Mhm.
going to have some kind of conflict and this doesn't really serve the overall story but it's a scene that they wanted to have so I'll just
Yeah,
keep playing it.
well, it's really interesting because like you say that the story they're actually telling me as the person doesn't know anything about the books is that the king is weak and that
Yeah,
there was so much animosity between the two houses because when the last I saw, they were hanging out watching the jousting and stuff, and
I
they're having
know,
a
it's
great
like they
time.
haven't done a very
I
good job of establishing why they
no.
fell out.
Why they fell out. There was some talk in the background between the hands and everybody. Oh, you should marry your daughter to this person. I'm gonna recommend that somebody in your house marries someone from their house because of whatever.
Yeah.
But oh, you did not offer your daughter to my son. I'm slighted, therefore I hate you, or something.
Yeah,
That's the
it
only thing that makes sense. And to remedy that, he went all the way seas. I mean, they made a big deal about like the seas were rough and he's on the water
yeah,
forever and he's throwing up because he's seasick. He finally
yeah.
gets there. He has to go up this big old long hill. Oh my god, I'm so tired. I get up there and there's like two randoms that come out and go. Well, I mean, I know
"Hey,
it's
what's
this
up?"
is I know it's the daughters and son, but come out and go. They're like, yeah, so yeah, my dad's just he's a little bit tired. He's a little bit
Yeah.
tired, so he doesn't want to come.
"Oh, the
Like
king's here," like, "Knock, knock."
like tired. Did you see what I just did? Like
Yeah.
I just got off a damn boat after however, I was 7 years on the open sea fighting off pirates and dragons. I finally get here, and you're telling me your dad's a little tired because he went for
I
a
know, like, a
ride
couple of
earlier.
days, like,
Yeah,
ship
right. So it was just all disrespect, and then they get him in there, and oh, well, tell me about the name. How are we going to do the name? Who gets the
Yeah,
key?
that's so bad. I and then here's where they mention hearing about Rhea Royce. And again, I've mentioned this in other episodes. This is what we call this is your classic maid and butler dialogue where it's characters telling each other things that they would know. I mean, not I
Right.
don't I go to say that they shouldn't know any of this because the news wouldn't have traveled so far
Mm,
or so fast. And but again, it's the same thing. Maid and butler dialogue is exposition between two characters for the sake of the audience to tell the audience something that the characters should themselves know. So it just
right.
comes off as really stilted.
When we should have known this information is during that wedding ceremony. Because then
Yeah,
you had
and then
all
it
that
comes
time for the
out.
boats to get there, and then all that time to go back. All the
Yes.
people get on their ships, and they're coming from all over. They bring the news with them,
Yes,
and then you get
that's an
yes,
excellent point and a great thing that I hadn't was like, where would they insert this information? But there you go. You have it
yep,
there.
yep, and then Damon shows up, and then everyone's like been whispering about it the whole time. I think he killed his wife. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
what happened? Did she had a broken neck, but did he do it? I don't know. The horse fell on her, which is just an accident. Did the horse step in a gopher hole? What happened? No, I think it was Damon. I think he flew
I
in with his
know. I
dragon
mean,
and lifted the horse up and threw it
if
all
there's
down. And
rumors, like
yeah,
it makes
yeah.
him
And then he
it's
shows up, and everyone goes, "Oh,
what the heck? I know, and
yeah."
it's like when there's rumors like that, you get it's character building because depending on how the rumors change and what people think of Damon,
Mhm.
we learn more about who Damon actually is. That's how you
And in
tell a
that
story.
conversation with with the cousin, I can't remember his name. I had it. I was prepared for you, Lady B. I was prepared. I'm like, I
It's
have to know
okay.
his
I
name.
don't even remember the guy's name,
So
honestly.
he shows up. He's like, okay, well, you're gonna get what's coming to you for what you did to my cousin. And he's like, who? Like, your wife? Oh yeah. Oh, uh-huh. Oh yeah, tragic. Uh-huh. Oh, by the way, let's talk about my inheritance now. Like that would have had much more meaning if
Yeah,
we
it would
were
have been
all getting
so
all
much
that
more
information
like,
at the
"Oh,
same time.
dang."
Yep.
Yeah.
But no.
And then this part, oh my goodness, the whole thing with the names. I mean, it's just
Hmm.
you know what this is? This is another vehicle to deliver the message. The
Yep.
message is that yeah, Rhaenyra is the heir, but she's not the heir because the patriarchy, because we have to give this message in our story. I
Hmm.
mean, that's probably my biggest criticism
Well,
is of this
can you
show.
educate me on this stuff as far as inheriting the kingdom, so to speak? It's
Mhm.
been men, and it seems is this the first time that somebody's been a woman ruler, like the queen ruled?
Yeah, so we've had like several councils where there were people that should like there was some kind of questioning with the succession. And at one point in time, it was between Viserys the Old King and Rhaenys there. Except what they don't like tell you is at the time is that Rhaenys had a son, Laenor, and I think Laenor was like 7. And while she could have been queen if you went through like proximity, but they
Mm,
didn't really have female rulers. And at the time she was younger and
mm,
she was pushing for the rights of her son because she wanted her son to be king. So this is
right.
another reason why this scene is kind of lame. It's because like if they were between if the original when Viserys became king, if the question was should it be Viserys, who was like an adult at this time, versus Laenor,
Sure.
who was a 7-year-old child, and they picked Viserys, but now Viserys is like, let's marry Laenor to my son or to my daughter. So
Yeah.
your son will marry my daughter, so he will be the prince consort, not the king consort, because that's
Right.
not how these things work. But why is that an issue? It's like they're practically getting what they wanted. They're the
Yeah.
closest thing to what they wanted. So it's like they should be happy about this.
Well, the reason I ask is the king was asked, what about the succession? And he says, regardless of gender,
Yeah, that's
they
another. It's the
and I
message
was
coming
like,
out because
this is a
they
really big change, right?
Yeah, it is because they're making a lot they're giving a lot. I mean, it's in the books. There are some people like Rhaenys should have been by proximity, but then there's a question of proximity versus
Mhm.
primogeniture. Primogeniture favors the eldest son. Proximity is the eldest child, and it's different in like different places. Most of
Right.
Westeros, northern Westeros, does like male succession, and Dorne does proximity, so whoever's the oldest. But we have gone through 2 councils already where they have decided that no, we want primogeniture, so we want the sons to inherit. So by them saying this, I mean, it's like, Viserys is stupid, but I don't think he's that stupid that he would go and create something like this. But again, we have
Mm.
seen like story.
Well, with 50% of death rate for giving birth to children, I would say that it's probably a better idea to have the boys inherit, the men inherit because they can always just get another queen and just keep going through queens until one doesn't
I
die.
know,
And
because that's
50
like,
50
how
50
they
chance,
how they
yeah.
think this world is. It's so silly.
Stability of the kingdom, oh yeah, we can have all of our queens die. It's fine. No
Yeah.
big deal. We'll just
I
you
could
over
have.
there, come over here. Can you give
Yeah,
birth? Let me see how wide your hips are. Yeah, you'll do.
it's so
Let's hook
silly.
it up.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's not like that in the source material, and it's just the producers being stupid. And I
yep.
mean, that's I was reading a book about
It's
midwives in the 17th century, and it's like it wasn't like that at all.
it is how can we, like you say, the message. It's how do we deliver the message every opportunity that we possibly can. It's like we get it. We
Yeah,
get it.
and
Like
I'm kind
it
of tired.
sucked.
Yeah, I'm getting a little tired of people saying that the show isn't woke. I mean, the difference is are like Rings of Power will hit you with like a giant tree, and like
Mhm.
this is hitting you with like a stick or like a tree branch
Well,
sometimes.
I don't want to start any fights with anybody, not you,
Yeah.
not anyone else online, but I will say that I do not like Cobra Kai for the same reason. I think it is very woke, they just hide it. Or they
Yeah.
make it very subtle and they don't make it the primary plot point. But it's
Yeah,
there.
there's
It's
def
and it
it's
hits
I've
for
seen it
me,
there.
I'm super sensitive and it hits me over the face constantly. I've watched all of Cobra Kai, but people say, "Oh no, it's oh my god, it's so amazing, not woke at all." I'm like,
No, there is, but it's there.
it's there.
So speaking of wokeness, okay, now this is another. I hate this scene because this was not something that
I
Rhaenyra
had to get
said.
up and leave. I had to get up and leave.
I I
I let
was
you
like
guys have at it, and I was like, "Bye."
like
My
"Bye,
drink.
I'm out.
I think I
Okay.
need ice right here. Yeah, I had to get
Yeah.
out.
So they're coming back and they're going to talk about, well, some people prefer tuck to goose. Okay. And obviously it's talking about somebody's sexual preference, but I
Mhm.
think this is I hated how they did this in the show because they have established in the books that people aren't openly gay, and the way that he acts in this show is very open. I mean, at the wedding, he's flirting with his boyfriend, like they're hanging out with each other, and you can compare this to the other show. I mean, Loras Tyrell and Renly Baratheon, where they all over each other, was everyone just some open secret? I mean, even the
Yeah.
people that knew, they were very like secretive with it. They didn't tell people. I mean, Marguerite Terrell was like willing to like face the like the
Right.
septons and stuff to protect her brother, and here we have them. She's just acting like, well, everyone knows you're gay. I mean, it's a question of whether you like duck or goose. And this
Mhm.
came from a line in the book where a maester was saying, well, I don't like fish, but if it's what we're having for dinner, I'll eat it. And it doesn't seem right for her to say that.
Yeah, no, they were trying to be
Where
clever. They're
yeah,
trying to be clever,
they're
and they
clever, and they're trying to say, oh, look how progressive we are. And I mean,
mhm.
maybe their society is progressive, but I mean, it generally doesn't go from being more progressive to like more conservative. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
In
The
actual
whole
life.
definition of being progressive is to progress, and you only go one way. So,
Yeah,
but
and
you're
then
no, go ahead.
oh, the family, and then, of course, here, familiarity is not an issue, and they're talking about they both know he's gay, and yeah, we're gonna be putting him in danger, and I'm like, "You guys are the people that wanted him to be king. This makes no sense."
Yeah. Well, I mean, he still has to consummate the marriage, so to speak. He has to produce
Yeah.
an error, and that does have to happen at some point. It's going to be really interesting, and you guys maybe hinted at it when you guys were talking, and I didn't understand. But there's going to be children, and then the children will make it obvious who the
Yeah.
real parents are, or
I'm
who the real
I'm
dad is.
actually worried about this show is this is when it's gonna go super woke, is what is it going to mean? Because Rhaenyra is going to have children with a guy named Harwin Strong, and they're going to look like his children. It's going to be really obvious because they're not going to be a quarter black like
Hmm.
they would if they were Rhaenyra's children. So it'll be obvious. But then you have the like woke kind of intersection of she is like um cuckolding a black gay man and he's going to die and what is going to happen.
Hmm.
And then here
Yeah,
we get the gay like romance season. And I'd like to point out and that I think this is really horrible because this is the only scene where we've got where there's been like affection between people, like nice kind of romance is this
you
gay
are
scene.
right. I didn't notice that, so you just said that. You are absolutely right. This is
And
the first time.
it's something I've noticed because of the way that they present relationships and what they're presenting to us. It's like the orgy scene, like the most people that we saw, like the couples, there were majority, like the naked people we saw were like gay couples. And I mean, I don't have a gay problem with gay people, but it just seems like it's
Mm.
there, guys. You can't say this isn't here.
Traditional relationships, no love there at all. They really secretly hate each
Yeah.
other. But look,
They
if you're gay, oh man, it's all good. There was
yeah.
a little bit of, I guess, I would say, happiness and love and all that between
Emma
the
Aaron and Viserys, like there was
yeah,
some affection there. And
yeah.
but it's always comes back to that, and so I don't wanna watch that. So, they go through that, and you see they're having their little thing, and then we get this hot mess. Oh my goodness. The
She's
die
like, yeah. Well, he's right. Do you want me to be your man whore, so to speak? Like, do you want me to just sneak around with you all the time? Is that really what you have in mind? And she's like,
This
well,
was so weird to me
yeah.
because you go from a guy who took a vow to be a Kingsguard, you're going to protect this woman, and I should point out, a lot of people are kind of like, "Well, he's always hanging out with her." This guy is her sworn shield, and he has been
Mhm.
that for some years, so he's always with her. He's his bodyguard, or
Right.
he's her bodyguard, and so that's why they're always together, so it shouldn't be weird that they spend a lot of time to other people. But again, what's weird with this to me is that, like, the dialogue is just so stilted. It's like on one hand, you have a guy that
Mm.
is saying in the beginning of the conversation, let's run away to Dorne. And I don't know why somebody who lives in the like Stormlands, who's like a marcher lord that fights the Dornish, would be really familiar with Sunspear. I don't know why. That's the Dornish capital, but he is. But that's I'll just let that fly. But it's like, why is the guy who is saying, I want to go forsake all of my vows and my
Yeah.
duty to you, let's run away to Essos and get married. And then the other half of the conversation becomes, I would have to get married to you because it's the honorable thing to do, and it would be the only honorable thing that could redeem me, like giving up on my King's Guard. And I'm like,
Yeah.
are you honorable or not? I don't like what they did to his character at all because in the books, like, there is some ambiguity of whether or not who seduced who and who slept with who, and if she actually did that. But like, I think it's pretty clear that whatever happened, he's like, they didn't sleep together. There was like a rebuffing, and it made either one of them angry,
Mm.
or it could have there's some conspiracy theories that he could have been working for Allison all along. I don't
Mm.
know. I just think it's like I was curious because I was reading about Jamie Lannister like forsaking his vows so much, and then I was like, who else had done it? And there isn't a huge history of it. So if he was to do something like this after taking Kingsguard vows, like it's a huge deal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, the Kingsguard should all be really hideously ugly because I mean, this guy is I mean, I have to admit, he's incredibly good looking. So I
He's a
especially in
handsome
his
dude.
in his in his in his full plate armor, knight in shining armor. He did say something about you to be your white knight. Now, where's the origin of white knight? Isn't that
The
a more
Kingsguard
recent thing?
always wears white, so they're kind
Okay.
of like there's some interesting things in the book that George does where he kind of equates them with like the White Walkers and the
Okay.
descriptions are kind of the same. So it's not like they're just using some moderate anachronism. This is actually
Okay.
their like white or their white for the
Okay.
Kingsguard.
Yeah,
And then here
no,
she
you were telling me that she gets around, right, in the story.
Yeah, I mean,
She has
she's kind of a winsome
appetites.
young girl.
Mhm.
She doesn't make the best decisions. She doesn't have the best partners. She's very impulsive. And this is
Mhm.
why it's important to have Damon be a strong character because later on in the books, it's going to be Damon's political acumen that makes her so successful.
Mm.
So to make him look like an incompetent and impotent person,
Yeah.
it's not setting up to explain their later success. And
Yeah.
here's another thing that's weird with characterization. Again, they need a pickle lane because she's going in, and this is where the timeline is important. Where I said where this is maybe like a week or two after the Moon Tea incident, she's all of a sudden talking about how her duty is the most important thing to her, and all of it's before where she's like, "No, it's so horrible. I'm going to die at childbirth. I'm going to be forced to get married and I don't want to do this." And
Well,
she even talks her dad into letting her marry whoever she wants, and then
right.
she sleeps with him and then it's like, "Well, you have to get married now."
I think her problem was that she didn't wanna be forced into a marriage where she was gonna be some old guy's plaything and just be called upon the way that, Alicent is called upon, like, "The king wants you in this room, go run." So when she was given this opportunity, like, "Oh, you're gonna marry one of your cousins." And she's thinking internally, "Oh, the gay one?
Okay,
I
when
got plans. I could
I could
marry
be weird.
him. Yeah, I'll marry him, and I'll have my boy toy follow me around everywhere and rub my feet at night, and I'll be set." And so she's thinking, "Okay, great idea, great idea. I'm all in. I'm all in. Let's do
Yeah.
this." But
And
then, well, we know that things kinda he basically
y-
rebuffs her. He's like, "No, I'm not gonna be your little
I could
man
be a
whore."
man
And
whore.
so,
You don't want to
no,
marry
no.
me, and
Well,
then
she's
all
like,
of a
"Well,
sudden she
now
like,
what? I'm married. I don't have my guy. I don't have my plaything.
yeah,
Now
that's
what?
gonna
That
be kind of
sucks. That sucks." But,
bad. And so we get back, and then we have Allison here on the
and
Airstream
and
right there.
and the interesting thing is after if what I just said was actually true and not me just being silly, when Damon shows up during the actual wedding thing and he says to her, or she says to him, "Take me away right now. Take me back to whatever and marry me." I'm taking her seriously. I don't know if you're taking her seriously, but I think she would be like, "Yeah, I'd really go
She's
right
like,
now.
"Let's go." I
Let's
know.
go."
You
So,
know, it almost feels like in the characterization in this, it almost would have made sense if they would have just skipped over the Lanor marriage altogether and had her run away with Damon just to save time. It would have
yeah.
worked in this. Like they could have forgone that, but she does have children. She does have children with Lanor.
Mhm.
And then, oh, this is another part right here where the
Oh my god,
baby.
you're right. Oh, I forgot about this.
So, like, I'm
Don't
just
have
gonna
children.
pause this here because this show, I think they hate motherhood.
They
Every
do.
time you see a child, it's screaming. Whoever's
Screaming.
holding it looks miserable. It's usually
If you're
Allison, and
talking about getting pregnant, it's, "Oh, don't you dare. You have no idea what's coming." If you are pregnant, it's like, "Oh,
you're gonna
you
die
poor
in
person.
childbirth.
You're gonna die." If you happen to get through it and you actually have a baby, well, this is what's coming. It's gonna puke all over you
Yeah,
constantly and scream all the time
it's
constantly.
awful. And
Parents or potential parents out there, it's actually awesome. It's awesome. I loved having kids.
I know. I wish I had children, and I don't. But like, it just makes it so horrible. It's
Well,
like anytime
you're gonna need a wet nurse to have your children in the back there.
yeah,
We'll
it's
hear it
like where
behind the
they
door
have
going,
a I know, it's just so horrible. It's like screaming child here, there
"I
was a
have to
screaming child
stream.
in
I
the other.
have to stream. Can you get this kid away? Just get it away. Take it away. I have to stream."
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
just like, "No, this is I'm sick of this message."
Yeah.
It's it's too early in the morning for my transhumanist, like, anti-human, anti-people rant.
Now, this is actually not far from, reality, though. I mean, well, not too long ago,
They
you would
had
give
wet
birth to your
nurses, I mean
children, you'd have your wet nurse would come and take it, and you're clear. Like, all you
yeah,
have to do
that's
is
why
squeeze it out, and you're done.
yeah,
You don't
that's why
raise your
I'm so
children.
surprised they're showing it, like, this way, is, like, they
Mhm.
wouldn't have raised their children, they had things, so
Oh, your
then
children
we
all love the wet nurse, not the actual mom.
yeah. So now we come.
Mom was mother. Yes, mother.
Other,
There's no
yes.
affection there.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm
And
sorry.
now we have this weird thing with Kristen Cole where she comes in, he just confesses everything he did to her,
And
and
this was horrible. What'd you think of the writing of the scene?
it
I
wasn't as bad as, like, Rhaenyra and him on the
Oh my
boat, but
god, it
it's so,
was
like
for me, it
it's
was like
like
I got it immediately. Like we got it. But you're gonna do this whole thing where you're gonna pretend like we're gonna
there's
she's
been a
deliberately
rumor.
not saying any key words to let him know that he's off the hook.
I know, and the other thing that they don't say is, like, why would he just all of a sudden confess that he slept with her? Because that's
Right.
what everyone thinks she slept with Damon because he was out there. That was the rumor, is, like, she was in a
Mhm.
brothel with Damon. Nobody knows that they slept with each other.
And that's what I mean. She's deliberately not using any language that would in any way let him know they're
And
talking
the other
about
thing I
me
don't
or they're
like
talking
about
about
this
Damon.
scene is he's the king's guard. He's the
Mhm.
servant. He's the one that's supposed to be protecting her. Why is he removing his sword to sit down and sort
Why is
of
he
like
sitting down?
taking the sort of familiar path with him, but also the like I'm
Wouldn't he
dishonoring myself to talk to the woman.
Wouldn't he say something like, "Sorry, my queen, I can't. I'm on duty right now. I must stand here. I must, protect. I can't
Yeah,
put myself into a position where if someone busts through the door, I don't have my sword with me. I'm sitting down. I have to
yeah.
remain on watch."
And it just goes back to the whole, like, thing when I was saying, I'm surprised that nobody had these SJWs and stuff like that that like the show, like, nobody had any criticism about what happened last episode with the, like, power imbalance between Kristen Cole and Rhaenyra, like, because to use their arguments, what that was right, because with
Yeah.
Cole able to say no to her,
Mhm.
no, she's the queen, like, she's a princess, so she can do whatever she wants, and he
Yep.
didn't really have a choice, so that's just
Right.
their argument, like,
Because that you're right about the power imbalance. That is exactly what, you can't have if you're, for example, in the workplace and you have the boss and the
yeah,
boss
it's
and
that's a
you
very
can't do
Harvey
that.
Weinstein kind of,
Uh,
like,
if you're in,
situation there.
you can't as a teacher or professor at university or any college, you're not allowed to be with your students, even though they're a legal age and you're a legal age and you should be able to. No, it's the power imbalance. So it's like it's
Yeah,
absolutely forbidden.
and
It's
that
it's
that should
but
be more problematic than it is, but it usually just to in this paradigm that they're creating with the, like, message and stuff like that, you
mhm.
can't do something like that to a man, which is totally retarded and not true.
Now I don't think he was really resisting too much, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I don't think he really resisted, but
No,
at the same time, like,
you ask
that's
him any problems. Do we need to take her away and lock her in a dungeon? He'll be no, 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 thank you.
nope, nope, nope. So they kinda talk, and then he confesses, and we see more of those god awful paintings. I'm never gonna stop calling these out. It's so horrible. You think in a show that is so, like, so focused on, like, portraying things and equity and
Hmm.
stuff, that they would not have those paintings in such a prominent place. Like, it would be some brothel or something, but they're not.
Now, is that her? That's her chambers, right? And
Those
she's
are her chambers, yeah,
yeah.
her bedroom, and there's a big one of those big
Yeah.
paintings over
I
her
mentioned it in
bed.
my review where I was like, I didn't even notice it during the show, and I was watching back through, and I went,
It's like, ew.
"Dude, check that out!" Yeah, and it's all over the place. It's behind the bed. It's over on the side. It's everywhere.
Yeah, and I don't know why they would be in her chambers, maybe the king's chambers, maybe the
Right.
brothel. I
Right.
don't know.
Yep.
I mean, it's not that much of a licentious place, but yeah, okay,
Mm-mm.
so then we see Viserys, like, he's obviously his arm is going septic and they give him some medicine. I think if he's sick, he should, like, die really soon. I don't think
Is
they're
it
gonna
is
have
it
him.
is it said at all what he's actually sick of, like what his disease is?
Okay, so in the book, what happens, and I'm kind of feeling like the show's not going to do this at all for all of their inclusion, is that he actually gets really, really fat and just ends up dying of a heart attack. But
Mm,
they're doing the Gothic literature thing, which is kind of cool. Is like as you know the decay of it, like he's getting hurt by the throne and he's lost fingers, and now his whole arm is actually his fingers are black. Like you'll see it. Like, I don't
mm.
know, you can really see it here, but and then you see his whole arm is like septic and like
Well, is the idea, do you think that the throne was poisoned, or you think it's something like
I don't think
tetanus
the
from the
throne was
rust,
poisonous.
or
Like, I think it's just a metaphor for showing how
mm,
his reign is kind of crumbling because that's sort of like the Gothic art
the decay of the house
literature thing.
is his decay?
Yeah, is that
Mm,
interstate showing the outer state. So like a decaying
mhm.
house is kind of like a decaying legacy or something like that. So
Yeah.
I think that's what they're getting, and I think that's pretty cool, and they've done a good job of showing it. But I'm just thinking, if he's this sick back then and he's like septic and everything, I'm not sure he's gonna survive after the wedding, and he
Mm-mm.
shouldn't die yet. But they might push it
Yeah.
forward. So he wonders about this. I'm gonna like advance it a little bit.
Mhm.
And then we get the wedding and finally dragons. And oh my
Yay!
goodness, I'm so excited. And people were wondering who these dragons were. And I'm pretty sure because one's red, it's probably Maylee's the red queen, who was Rhaenys' dragon, and the other one's gray, it's Sea Smoke, it's Laenor's dragon. I don't know why we don't see more people taking dragons like they do that in
How
the
long do the
books.
dragons live?
They can live for like a really long time, and they keep growing as long as they have space to grow.
Okay.
And like Valerian was really old, like he had come from Valyria, he was the last dragon from
Mm.
Valyria. And
I'm just wondering, do
and
they pass them down generation to generation, or
they
how that
can,
works?
yeah, in fact, Lena Valerian should be the writer of Vagar, who was one
Mm.
of the original three dragons. And they
Yeah.
just they lost Vagar when she was a little kid, and she was talking to Viserys, and we're just like, how do you lose a dragon? And
Mhm.
she doesn't, they talk about writing it and they don't mention it. And then they actually mention things like Valerian's not having dragons, like at the
Mm.
end, I think that was episode 3 or something. And I'm like, dude, like Rhaenys has a dragon, Lena has a dragon, Lenore has a dragon. You have 3 dragons. And I think they even mentioned they have half of the dragons in the realm at this point.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I'm kind of curious why they didn't in this scene. Why didn't they just make this the wedding feast instead of the like
Well,
welcome dinner?
that was his question as well. It's like, with all this, like, well, I can't wait to see what the actual wedding's gonna be like.
Yeah, and then they don't show it. So we get
Mhm.
this, and we have some Lannisters making some like patriarchal comments, like, "Oh, you're the
Mhm.
queen."
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, and then we have, here's the best part, the most exciting part for me is when Damon talks to the Royce guy, his wife's cousin, and they have a little bit of a
Mhm.
confrontation. And even though the dialogue was kind of silly, I thought that Matt Smith is a decent enough actor that he pulled it off,
Yeah.
even with his bad hair. His hair looks
Yeah.
so bad.
Oh, it does. I liked his hair so much better in the first episode.
Oh, the long was so good. And you know why it's good is because Matt Smith is an actor, and I won't say he's exactly typecast. He's a good actor. I've seen him in The Crown. I haven't seen him in Doctor Who, but that's the role that he's known for.
Yeah.
And that's the haircut he has. And usually when you're a filmmaker and you want to keep somebody from like thinking of somebody else's role, you try to make them look different. And what I see with that haircut is all I just see is Doctor Who, and I wish they would have kept his hair long because it made me
Yeah.
not think of that, and
Yeah,
they just did.
he's a very likable person in Doctor Who as well. I really liked his portrayal of Doctor Who.
Yeah. So then here we go. The Valerians are here, and I don't know why Christian Cole is the only guy not wearing a helmet. They should
Because
probably
he's
all take the
pretty.
helmets.
Because he's pretty. He's not
Yeah,
like
we had to
you.
see
He's
that.
not like you, has to have the helmet on, the bag over your head. We're talking about our D&D
My
stream,
dude.
guys.
Yeah, I have a very ugly character. No, that's unfortunate. But yeah, I hate their helmets. They look like the Punisher or something like bad. But then they come and they're here and there's all this phoniness, and I'm just gonna advance it a little
Mm.
bit, and then here we
Like
they
that, the way I described the information about his wife coming through with basically with the wedding party coming in and
yeah.
everybody talking about it and all that. It would have made this scene so much better.
I know, because then you're like, "Oh my god, she's dead and you're back here."
Yeah.
That would be shocking. They just don't they just it seems like there's just so many missed opportunities, and I always ask people that watch this with me, is there like a better way of doing this? Would it be
Mm.
more impactful if they did it this way? And it's probably like the thing
Now,
that
should the queen have come from the back, or was there a side entrance up where the table is that's where she normally would have come in? Is she making a statement coming
she's
in the
making
back?
a statement here. And then now when I originally thought they're gonna say some stuff about, oh, the green is when they make like the high towers declare call their banners. Well, they don't even say call their banners for war, which would be a great in-world thing, but
Yeah.
here Larry's just gonna give the information. He's talking about that, and I'm just like, why did
Yeah.
they have to
What
add
color
that?
is the fire when they call their
The fire
banners or
when they
something? Yeah.
call it the beacon of the
Green.
high
Yeah.
tower.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Beacon.
Do you know what color it glows when Old Town calls its banners to war? Green. And this is just so silly because I'm going to tell you what happens in the books. There's a dinner, and things have gotten really spicy between Alicent and Rhaenyra, and Alicent is wearing a green dress, which doesn't have any relation to any of that, and Rhaenyra is wearing a black dress, and that's where they get the colors of their factions, that they'll refer to them yellow, like, or they'll refer to them later, and there's the greens and the blacks. And Alicent is obviously the greens because of her dress. Blacks are the Targaryen loyalists. So, and to me, that just like that scene made so much more sense. Like along with what's going to happen next with the Kristen Cole beating the crap out of our Knight of the Kisses.
I mean, if I were to try to figure out why they would have put her in the green dress, then it's only because green looks really great on redheads.
Yeah,
That's the only reason.
I
So
mean,
they're trying to make her
there's
more attractive, so we're gonna put her in a green
yeah,
dress.
she looked attractive,
Yeah.
and black is a
And then
like
they
House
had to have a
Targaryen
reason why
colors
they did it because they didn't want the people watching the show to think, oh, they put her in green because it makes her
because
prettier.
just there's no
There's gonna be a
reason.
different yeah, there's gonna be a different reason.
I know. I wish they would have done like more of this in the books because Kristen Cole does kill this guy, Joffrey here.
Mm,
But what happens is that he does it in a tournament at a wedding where it's, I don't know, socially acceptable to murder somebody.
right.
And it's such, and to me, that would have been such a better statement because it's in a tournament. And think about the first episode where Damon does the same thing to some guy. He just beats the crap out of it. And there's like a guy dies there and it's
Hmm.
just really brutal. And it's like it's socially acceptable and it's not going to cause such a big scene. And it
But
makes a bigger statement too, because if you're doing it at a tournament in front of all the people and they're watching what's going down.
I get all that, but what the interesting thing about that is the boyfriend is in no way capable of fighting anybody. Like there's no way they could have had him in a tournament.
Yeah,
Because
like that's
like
really
in
funny
a
that,
book, you can imagine what the person must look like in order to be
yeah,
strong
or
enough and be able to go into a tournament. But
but in
this
this
little
show, no, they
no,
decided to make it really effeminate, which is
very
kind
yeah.
of like a very kind of stereotypical way of showing that somebody's gay because
Mhm,
I mean, he's his lover in the book, but he's obviously a decent like knight and
mhm. Yeah.
that's silly to me too. I mean, some of the things they did here are just so weird. And then here we get
Remember
the
remember
dance scene.
the Knight of Flowers from Game of Thrones, whatever his name was? I can't remember. He
Yes,
was
Dolores.
obvious yeah, Sir Loras. He he was badass.
Yeah, he could fight and he
Yeah,
was
he
a
was
really amazing tourney knight and he
hell
was
yeah.
gay as heck. Like,
Yep.
like
And I thought his character was awesome.
I know they were cool, like
I
Renly
was
the
kinda
same
jealous.
way.
I'm like, "Flower like, Knight of Flowers, that's actually a really cool idea. That's really neat."
And then they say this because this Joffrey
Because Game of
Monmouth.
Thrones didn't have the message in it, so we're
I
allowed to
know
like
it
people.
didn't. It didn't do that, and
Mm-mm.
it's again with the like the scenes serve the story doesn't serve the
Yeah.
scenes, and it's just.
I don't like any but I like Matt Smith's character. I like Damon, that's it. I mean, I think a lot
I
of
know,
people are the
yeah,
same thing.
he-
Like, we like
yeah,
Halbrand from Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. We like Damon.
because they're proactive characters that do things, and
Mhm.
these people don't, and so we're
And they
gonna
can
just
act. And they can
yeah,
act too.
and so now
Mhm.
Allison's going to talk to her uncle, and I say, "We're here for you, whatever." This scene just goes on for so long, and then we have the weird dancing. That's really boring. There's music, isn't anything. This actually reminds me of the dance scene in this part in the movie Elizabeth, where she dances the volta with one of her little paramours in the. And I think they did. I just watched it again last night, and I think that was so much better done than the show. But oh, here we go. Here's our Damon part here with it, where he
Yes.
talks to him, and it's like, yeah, men are. Oh, Gerald Royce. Okay, that's what his name is.
Yes.
We know
I
now. We
remember thinking, remember
remember
Rolls-Royce. You can remember Rolls-Royce, you can remember his name. No, obviously not.
James Royce. Yeah,
Gerald
Gerald
Ford
Royce.
and Rolls-Royce. Gerald Royce.
I know.
I
I was
had it.
gonna
I had
keep.
it. I just
It's okay. I'm having a pain day. I have fibromyalgia, so I don't remember everything. That's why I keep calling Lake Rhaenyra, Raina. And then, oh, yep, it's not an accident. Are you confessing some guilt? Like, this is just so bad. I'm making
Mhm.
an accusation. Well, no shit, Sherlock. You're making an accusation. So I'm just going to go on, and then they go away, and then we're going to get.
Yeah, no witnesses. Like You have no
No
proof.
witnesses, nobody
You're
saw
just
anything, but you
you
killed your wife, like, yeah.
mhm. You're standing here making accusations. I could challenge you to a duel. That's what he should have done.
Yeah, he should've, that would've been cool. Trial by combat, right?
Mhm.
They have more dancing, and I'll just get to the good part where and then here you have Lenore and Sir Joffrey here, like, they're kind of flirting around, like, and this is where I'm saying, like, it seems to be that they're definitely more than friends in the scene, and I'm just
Mhm.
like, they shouldn't be this way. This isn't how Westerosi society is. Like, if you do that, you're some like disgusting Dornishman. Like they talk about that all the time.
Yeah. So you're saying it's really hidden.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
out in the open. I mean, like even with comparing to somebody that we know in the books is like bisexual, Oberyn Martell. It's like no one would ever say to Oberyn's face that he sleeps with men, but like he does have like
I made
he has
that
had some
point in one of my
history with that.
videos, and I had some feedback in the comment section. Someone was calling me out on that, saying, "No, no, no, it was before the religions of this kind and that kind took over, and it was acceptable back then." And I was like, I don't know enough to dispute that, but
I don't get the feeling from the books that it's something that you would keep in the open. It's not,
mhm.
I mean, if you did it like in Dorne, like that anything goes, anything seems to go. They're very liberal in Dorne, and it actually says that if you look on the Wikipedia for Ice of Fire, but not here. And they make so many different times they say it, like with all the Renly and Laura stuff. Like, I mean, no one's gonna say Oberyn sleeps with men to his face, so and
Yeah,
now
it's
we're
the
getting
well-known secret. It's everybody
yeah.
knows, but nobody says.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly,
ask,
and
don't
then
tell.
here we get this conversation, and you know what? When I watch this, I'm like, "What the heck is happening? Why are they fighting?" I still don't know why this
Don't
fight started.
they because he had his ear over there, and he was saying like, "Oh,
Yeah, he's saying, "Oh, well, we'll both
just."
like, you can have Lenore and you can have Rhaena," and I'm
Mhm.
just like, again, this is somebody that takes his king's I mean, I don't know what he thinks of his vows because at one minute he's like, "Let's run away and get married," then the other is like, "Well, my vows, I have to keep my cloak."
I think he was pushing his buttons to determine if his the rumors were true, and he was saying
Yeah.
whatever he could try to get a reaction. I think he crossed the line, and that was
And
it.
that's
But of
probably
course, we
why it
don't get.
starts to but we
Yeah,
don't see it. I mean,
no, we don't see it. Like right
show
there, he's whispering. You can see he's like he's really trying to get a reaction, and
yeah, and it just seems stupid for
uh
both
huh,
of them to do that, and but, they like making male characters look stupid, and so they fight. It's a little
yeah,
bit graphic,
yeah,
and
quite a
then
bit.
I'm just gonna kinda get it past this part, and then
Yeah, there you go. So I mentioned this earlier. Do you think she would have gone with do you think that she was serious? Like, take me away from here?
I don't know, I almost think that she might have done that. I mean, I think it would kind of add some life to the way that they're telling the story if she did, if they just eloped, if they cut out,
Hmm.
like, a bunch of that time skip and just went to them getting married. But I've
Now that
always
would
been
have been what do you call it? That's war at that point, right? If this actually happened, and after all the wedding ceremony, and everybody comes all over, and you have the
oh, yeah,
promise, here's my
that would've
son.
caused so much
Oh yeah,
problems.
that would have been. Oh, it would have been a tragedy. But yeah, a lot of
And
people
then
did.
here we go, we have the fight, and again, it's like, why are the Kingsguard guarding the king? Like, they should just be
Yeah.
grabbing the royal family. I mean, have you seen, like, the
Well, I
Secret
mean,
Service and stuff?
my girl Ray Ray there, she's getting jostled and knocked around. I mean, number one priority is to protect her. You should
Yeah,
be
and
wading in there with
Viserys
a
and
big
Alicent.
cudgel and just bam, get out of the way. I'm
Yeah,
getting to the
get out,
princess.
like, screaming. But
Mm-hmm.
see, this is why the tournament was so much more powerful because then you have socially sanctioned violence and murder, and bam, like he just
Mm-hmm.
kills Joffrey Lonmouth there in front of everyone, and it's such a huge statement because he's been rebuffed by or whatever happened with him and Rhaenyra. So there's this, like, rancor between them. He kills Laena's boyfriend, and he's just like basically declaring his allegiance to Alicent there.
Yeah.
So it would have been a powerful scene, but ugh. And then again, we see how bad Viserys is, and then oh, gross, gross. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And then we have oh god, this is just the total emasculation of this guy's character. I honestly, when I saw this, I was like, he is going to pull a step in from Wheel of Prime and just
Mm-hmm.
kill himself. I
Well,
was just like,
I
oh
was
my
shouting in
goodness.
chat with us the other day. I was like, he's not Japanese. What's he doing? Because
Mhm. He's like lifting up his shirt, but again, it's they're emasculating this
Yeah.
character and making him just a total simp for Reina, and he'd give up everything he ever had, like, to I don't know. I hate it. I
He
don't like
wants to
it.
be in that honorable marriage instead of just being this
Yeah, and then they
side guy.
forced them to get I don't understand, like, why they went ahead and just made them have this, like, shotgun wedding, like, that's it, like, there was
And they
some
did
drama.
voiceovers too. Like their lips never moved as they were doing the vows.
Yeah,
So
it's
there's like a
like a
voiceover.
it's an
Yeah.
intercut thing, and
Yeah.
yeah, and that's where,
I
they
didn't
leave the
like it.
episode, and then Alicent comes to say, like, "Nope," and then there's Rhaenyra just being sad, and Kristen comes, there's Alicent, and
So does Allison and Kristen hook up in the books?
no, they don't, but,
Okay.
Kristen, like, becomes, um sorry, I'm just getting this. Kristen becomes, known as the Kingmaker because he was loyal to Alicent, and Alicent and he declares Alicent's son Aegon to be the true king when Viserys dies, which should
Okay.
probably be happening in the next episode.
It's gonna
And
be
so he
interesting.
actually takes on a very important. It's kind of like they're kind of doing to him what they're doing to Daemon, where they make him look like a simp, they make him look weak, but he's really going to have a really big, important impact later on in the story. And I don't know if they're trying to make the women characters look better by making the men look worse, and that's a
Always. The
losing.
answer to that question is always yes.
Yeah, that's a losing proposition because you don't. It's like you it's the lawnmower theory. It's like you stand on the shoulders of other people to reach greatness versus like
Hmm.
cutting all the grass around you
Yeah.
so that you're the only one standing. And that's kind of what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. You're 100% right. And I complain about that and rail against that crap all the damn time. It's just, it makes me so angry. It's like
Yeah.
if they cannot write a good, strong female character, because to them, to make a strong female character, they have to be masculine. They have to be men.
Yeah, I don't
And
like that. And I
no,
mean, like Allison is somebody who's like really cares about her children, and that's always her first priority. And that's why she was so protective of her own children and stuff. And she ends up going to Great Lakes when Viserys dies, and they actually hide his body for like a week, and it's gross and disgusting. So she
yeah.
can kind of set herself up and her family up to take power. And
Well, we know it's possible. We
yeah,
know Cersei, for example, was an
yeah.
amazing,
I mean, they can
strong
do that. I
character,
mean,
and
we've
she was
seen enough
feminine
things.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we have Cersei, we have like Daenerys, we
Hmm.
have
Yeah.
Caitlyn. I mean, look at
Yeah.
Caitlyn as a mother character. I
Yeah.
mean, she cared so much about her children. She was willing to risk her life to save Bran from the like assassin. Why
Yep.
is that such a bad thing? Why is it such a bad thing to care about your children, to be a loving woman, to be nurturing and stuff?
We're not. Yeah, you're not allowed to have children.
Yeah,
You're selling out your people. Stop having children.
yep, that's the message.
Yep, that's the message. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't even know.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, we're coming to the end of the episode. Like, do you have any final thoughts? Do you have anything you'd like to plug for your channel?
I would say final thoughts are actually looking forward to the next one because I want to see what the character, I mean, the characters growing up, the bigger gap between the time. I want to know what happens in that time gap. And I want to see, will the new actors be able to pull it off? I want to see, because everyone says if they can't pull it off, that's the death of the show.
Yeah,
And I'm hearing that everywhere. So I'm curious to
yeah.
see what happens next. And I'm hoping that they planned to kind of do some backstory and kind of get us an idea what's going on, and then they're going to go into some actually action because, like I said, bored,
This is just
just
so
bored.
boring. Like
Uh,
everything in this.
yeah, it's just ugh.
I
And,
know
and
if I
it's
had one criticism of the show, I would want this is where I would start the story was at this wedding because you could tell all of the backstory that's been in the previous 4 episodes at the wedding. You could
Mhm.
establish who's like where the alliances are, things that
Yeah,
happened in the past through action and dialogue through you could establish the thing with Lenore and Kristen Cole. Or like I'm
yeah.
not Lenore, Joffrey Lonmouth and Kristen Cole. You could establish that with like a 5 minute scene during the tournament, like a fight would establish what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, if I mean, I'm not in charge or anything, but let's say that I was, and I wanted to establish two houses and how they interconnect. So the boats all arrive, and then they have to get from the docks up to the castle. So you would
Hmm.
have maybe two different trains of people all meet, and then they talk to each other on the road together. They're like, "Hey, Bob, how are you doing over there? Hey, Steve. And then they like, what do you think about all this going on up here with the wedding and all that? And, oh, here's what I hear. Did you hear that Damon may have killed his wife? Oh my God, we're gonna go in there and find out what's going on. And then,
Yeah, or
I
like
mean,
have some women gossiping and then, oh my God, here
yeah,
comes Damon. Like, where did he come
hmm
from?
yeah.
I mean,
There was opportunities to have just little scenes, couple minutes of just some dialogue happening between these people and those people,
yeah,
instead of like it's just kind of dumping it on us all at once in some places, or having it too spread out where you get a little bit way at the beginning. It's out of place, like you said. There's no way they would have known that information that fast, and
yeah,
then
or
have
like
it. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, or I was just saying, like, I being a screenwriting and development student and having a really good internship where they're like, "You hate this. Well, why do you hate it? What would you do different?" I'm always thinking that when I'm watching this show,
Yeah,
and I'm
what did you do
hoping to
different?
actually, yeah, do a show where I can lay out how I tell the story differently, maybe some different like presenting of the characters and stuff like that. So hopefully, I'll get that done in the next couple of weeks. So
I would like to do a real time version of that myself.
yeah,
I've always
we're all.
thought of
I
that.
think all of us on that subreddit, or we're from that subreddit, the White
Mhm.
Cloaks people. We're thinking of doing that too. So
Cool. And as far as what I'm plugging, well, yesterday on Monday, so we have I have a Dungeons and Dragons every other Monday. We had one yesterday. Check it out on my stream.
awesome.
It was Lady B, it was Pips, it was, Dane Bornhold, it was, Kayla Dar,
Yeah.
and we all had a great time, and I got pushed into the river. Lady B pushed me into the river, tried to drown me.
Yep.
Wasn't
No.
my fault. She couldn't see where I was going because she had a helmet on her head, but
Yeah, because I'm
yeah,
so ugly.
yeah, very low charisma. And so I have another one tomorrow on Wednesday, so check that out. This is gonna be with Hollywood Scholar. It's gonna be Matt that shouldn't be. It's going to be DJ Grom, myself, and Squeak a Mouse. We're gonna have a great time over there as
Awesome.
well. And then I'm out for the weekend. I'm headed out to Landers, California, where my
Ooh.
observatory is, and I'm going to be setting up my telescope on Thursday. And I will be having a star party weekend with my club members throughout the
How
whole weekend.
awesome. That sounds
So
like so much fun.
it is. It's great, and we have these really big, like 30-inch telescopes, which means like the mirror is, like that big that we
Wow.
people stand in line for hours to be able to look through it. It's going to be a lot of fun, but
Awesome.
yeah, I'll just be taking pictures. I take pictures of this night sky and then process them when I get back. But that's gonna be my weekend. And then next week is back to D&D on Monday. Or no D&D. I'm visiting Alexis, my friend who does the co-host of the Firepot. She's actually gonna start her own channel
Awesome.
and do her own thing over there. So I'm excited to go over and join her. And I think we're talking about
Great.
Squid Game. I think it's Squid Game
Ooh.
we're gonna talk about.
I have
So
not watched that yet.
it's actually pretty fun. It's a good show to watch. And
Cool.
then,
Well,
yeah, my normal thing. So that's and then a video here and there if I can get to it. I won't have time
awesome.
today, so it won't be till next week. I'm gonna be behind. I'm gonna have to
That's
skip.
okay.
I'm gonna have to skip episode 5 of both this show and Rings of Power. I won't do a video.
That's cool. Well, thank you
So
so much for coming out and talking to me. It was a great
sure.
conversation, and please come and join us next week for episode 6 review. And everyone, we'll be sure to have like link to OBG's channel. And thanks for coming out. And we'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
Bye.